Okay, everybody. So Twitch has stopped working for me, and I'm going to be doing the live stream on YouTube instead. So I'm hoping that everyone hears this and that they are able to see what's going on here. I know that I was okay, everybody. So Twitch has stopped working for me, and I'm going. Okay, sorry about that. And so yeah, I'm going to be doing the live stream this way. So let me just refresh my stuff here. Okay, so let's see. Okay, you should be seeing something there. Okay, I'm not seeing anything on the screen here. So let's see. Bear with me, everybody. I'm sorry. There seems to be a lot of interference going on with this live stream. Crazy stuff here. Okay. Okay, well, it should be showing up. Okay, so it looks like you can see it there. I hope. Okay, it looks like... Okay, so if you guys can see everything, please leave a message in the chat room letting me know that you can see everything because it's not working on my iPad. So if you guys can see everything, just leave me a message right now and let me know in the chat. So yeah, I went to go do Twitch, and Twitch stopped working. The entire website stopped working for me. So I don't understand what's going on with that. I just get this blank screen when I go to try to find my channel. So, okay. So Mary said yes. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to wait a couple minutes for more people to show up because I posted this on Facebook and I posted this in other places. So I'm hoping that everyone will get this. So let's see here. Thank you, everybody, for being patient. Francois Deguire says oui. So I say way. Back to you. So thank you. Um, okay. All right. I know there's a little bit of a delay there, so I'm just going to go to Facebook really quick and make sure that everybody's getting the message. I wasn't anticipating a whole bunch of people coming to this. So, it was interesting. When I went to my Twitch account, I saw that there were all these views. Um, there was like 7,000 views on just like the preview part or just like the main screen. And I'm like, that was really unusual. I wonder why. Like, I'm pretty sure there's not that many people that are like ready to watch this. Like, I sent it out to a couple of people, but really, I'm not really that well known. So I just thought that was interesting. So maybe it was like a DDoS attack of some kind. So, um, I'm just going to check my iPad here and see if it's working. And we will start momentarily. So I would ask everyone to please be patient with me. I didn't realize there was going to be this kind of interference. So YouTube was plan B. So yeah, so let's see here. Okay. Let's do this. Let's go there. All right, let me go back here. Okay, I've got a lot of really good stuff to show you guys today. And I'm anticipating it being totally epic. Okay. All right. So all I needed to do was do that. Okay. So I'm just going to share this live stream right now on Facebook and Twitter, just so everybody can get on there. Okay. So I hope everybody's doing well. Um, Thank you all for showing up today. Um, Whatever I have in my arsenal today, the Cabal really didn't want anybody to find out about, I guess, because they did take down that website, Twitch. So maybe they wanted to lure me into using YouTube so they could censor it. So either way. Um, okay, so let's begin. All right, so wait, let's start here. That's where I want to start. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the intro to Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. This was a totally amazing movie that I went to go see, and I went to see it in theaters, which I don't really care to go to theaters very often. But it was so amazing, and it has some amazing, incredible effects. And there's a website that I use to watch shows and stuff, and it's not Netflix. It's a different kind of website. And I pulled um, the intro from that movie, and I'm going to play it for you now. It's totally epic and amazing. So I'm going to play that for you now. Check ignition and may God's love be with you. Okay, so that was that. I thought that was pretty cool. So they have like a timeline of like where they started like the International Space Station, and then they got it up to probably where they are like, decades ago, where they were meeting with these different extraterrestrials and stuff. So, anyways, before I start, I was a little bit frazzled before I started this video because I had to, go to YouTube in a hurry and get all this stuff set up. So I just want to do a couple of quick things before I start everything. I wanted to. Um, First of all, thank everybody for participating in this, and thank you for, you know, um, contributing to learning about, what's going on, and Um, I also wanted to mention that everything that I do, all this research, all these videos and everything will always be free, but I included my PayPal in the description if anybody feels guided to, donate anything there. I'm always grateful for that. But like I said, everything will always be free. So um, I think that is everything that I wanted to include. So once again, as I did with my last live stream, I just want to say that I don't have all the answers, and I'm just trying to figure out everything like everybody else. And I just want to be as useful as I can at this time, because it's at this point, all hands on deck to help liberate the planet and everything like that. And I'm sure that all of you already know that. So since you're all playing your part as well. Anyways, so let's begin. So disclosure in TV and movies. It is now obvious that there is a massive effort to disclose the truth about many topics that have been previously censored in the mass media. This includes movies, TV, music, video games, and every form of media that we can think of. Mozart was trusted with incorporating the occult teachings of Isis into his operas, and not Isis like, in the Middle East, but Isis like the goddess Isis. Disclosure may have gone by another name during Mozart's time, but the concept is still the same. Release important, enlightening information and truth about scandals and life-changing occult information into media of the time to the people. If Mozart was doing it centuries ago, why wouldn't it be done today? So, he incorporated a lot of really cool stuff in that opera, Die Zauberflute, which is going to be the next slide. And there was a lot of really cool stuff in there, like the hero's journey and ascended beings, and it was totally wild. I wasn't expecting that. So, why wouldn't the same positive people be around today? And they are actually, and they're participating in creating a lot of these amazing shows that we're going to talk about today. So let's continue here. The Mysteries of Isis, written into Mozart's Die Zauberflute, the Magic Flute. This is from Cobra's blog. Their real comeback only came in the 18th century when Comte de Saint-Germain initiated Cagliostro, hope I said that right, into the mysteries and gave him the task to spread those mysteries across Europe. Mozart was a disciple of Cagliostro, and that spread the mysteries of Isis through his music, especially through his famous opera, The Magic Flute. Cagliostro initiated many women of the French high society, as instructed by Saint-Germain, to reform and enlighten the society from within. These women were transmitting coded message with sign language, and there's lots of pictures on his blog of these women doing these hand gestures and signals and stuff. It was really cool. Mozart was a disciple of Cagliostro that spread the mysteries of Isis through his music, especially through. Oh, I already put that. So, oops, I did a little, I did a little double there. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's move on here. Headline: U.S. military intelligence agencies have influenced over 1,800 movies and TV shows. This was on Medium.com. I believe this was an exclusive story by them. Documents expose how Hollywood promotes war on behalf of the Pentagon, CIA, and NSA. Tom Secker and Matthew Alford report on their astonishing findings from trawling through thousands of new U.S. military and intelligence documents obtained under the Freedom of Information Act. The documents reveal for the first time the vast scale of the U.S. government control in Hollywood, including the ability to manipulate scripts or even prevent films too critical of the Pentagon from being made, not to mention influencing some of the most popular film franchises in recent years. Okay, I think there's another. A similar influence is exerted over military-supported TV, which ranges from Hawaii Five-0 to America's Got Talent, Oprah, Jay Leno, and Cupcake Wars, along with numerous documentaries by PBS, the History Channel, and the BBC. So you have this military-industrial complex, which is overseeing TV shows like Cupcake Wars. I think that's really interesting. I'm not really sure why they'd want to get involved in that. Maybe they don't want any, secrets being leaked in frosting on the cupcakes or something. Who knows? National Security Cinema has also reveals how dozens of films and TV shows have been supported and influenced by the CIA, including the James Bond adventure Thunderball and the Tom Clancy thriller Patriot games, and more recent films including Meet the Parents and Salt. So the United States intelligence services and the government have their hands really deep in Hollywood. So, and it becomes really obvious as we go on that a lot of these TV shows that I'm going to show to you have so much information in them, so much classified metaphysical information that really, I mean, Even like the best science fiction writer probably couldn't think of this stuff. It's so specific. So let's go here. Babylon 5. This show is the absolute winner when it comes to releasing the truth about what is going on right now. It illustrates the solar flash, the operations to liberate Earth, the cosmic anomaly, the Jesuits, super soldiers, the resistance, the Galactic Confederation, secret space program, blue spheres, ascended beings, and the Illuminati slash Freemasons, and much more. And you can find an analysis of this show on my blog under the tab Disclosure in TV and Movies. There, I have several articles where I go into a lot of these shows and write about what they disclose, and I have pictures and stuff like that. So there's a lot of good stuff in there. But the main one, the one at the very top, the one that has the most information is Babylon 5. I mean, they didn't leave like almost anything out. Like they included so many things that that I'm going to list here in a little bit. So NASA releases information about Babylon 5 2 weeks after I write my analysis on April 18th, 2017. Now, this might just be a coincidence because as I'm going to go forward, I'm going to tell you about how NASA has written about Babylon 5 in the past. So, NASA, this is from NASA's own website. NASA, May 2nd, 2017. NASA's Flying Observatory, the Stratospheric Observatory for Infrared Astronomy, or SOFIA, recently completed a detailed study of a nearby planetary system. Yada yada yada. Let's go down, and is also the storied location of Babylon 5 space station in the science fiction television series of the same name. Because it was like the same constellation or the same area, so they decided to include that. So I thought that was interesting that right after that I wrote that analysis, they came out with this. And of course, when I went to go back and reference the article to get a screenshot of it, I couldn't find it, and the website didn't work, but it worked on my blog. At the time that I wrote it. So I got a picture of the Pinterest or Instagram, whatever it was. I think that's Instagram, of this article. So you can see there that they did actually write this article. It does exist, but I couldn't get to it for some reason. So maybe they knew that I was making this. I don't know. So anyways, NASA released information about Babylon 5 in 1998. So Babylon 5, that show was started at around 1993. So it was in the 90s when that started. So um, okay, so let's see here. NASA, August 17th, 1998. Through a unique technology transfer program, space scientists and engineers have begun sharing their brainpower with producers and writers at Babylonian Productions, producers of Babylon 5, and the new science fiction series Crusade, which I did analysis of that show also. It was only one season, and they did 13 episodes, and they did disclose a lot of really cool stuff in there. You could find that in the same tab on my blog. And I think I put that in the description also of this video. So NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory will provide Crusade producers with new visions of technology that will assist them in portraying science and astronomy as accurately as possible, forecasting science and technology issues circa the year 2250. And when they say science and technology issues, they talk about like they have episodes where the people are working in these like kind of slave conditions and the equipment is falling apart and these corporations just don't want to do anything about it. They're just worried about money, and the government is involved and the government won't approve any more money to them. So it's really like real life, you know. We have a very challenging task before us on the production side, visualizing and creating different planets and planetary bodies complete with civilizations, flora, and fauna, said Crusade producer John Copeland. The scientists and engineers at JPL will be advising us how to depict the future, which actually was pretty much the present because, you know, we had Solar Warden in the 1980s and, you know, the space programs that came before that. So I think they were just trying to work with these people who knew what was going on and to disclose all the stuff to the public. So, oh, okay. So this is a screenshot of that website that I got that information from. So you can see there that it's actually from NASA's own website, the JPL, nasa.gov, and that talks about Crusade. So let's see here. NASA mentions Babylon 5 again in 2008. So it's interesting, towards the end of the year is when they do that. It appears NASA has done a similar release like the one that is being done about now about the Epsilon star system featured in Babylon 5 in 2008. And this is from the website. Because the star is so close and similar to the sun, it is a popular locale in science fiction. It has been featured in novels by Isaac Asimov and Frank Herbert, among others. In the popular TV series Babylon 5, it is the location of the featured space station As a nod to the show, hidden within the background nebula in this artist's conception is a small silhouette that may be familiar to fans of the series. Can you find it? So I think I have a yeah. So there's the website. So I actually had to go to archive.org because it wouldn't work. So luckily that was in there, and I was able to pull this page. So you can see that's where they talk about that. And okay, so this is a picture of the interior of Babylon 5, of the Babylon 5 space station. So, and this was from the 1990s. And as you can see, it's kind of like that cigar kind of shaped looking thing. It kind of looks like a giant, it kind of looks like a giant microphone, like in space. And so this is what the interior looks like, and this was in the show. And I got the next photos from NASA's own website, and these photos were depicting what the future would look like. And I think these were done in like the 70s and 80s, or maybe the 90s. So I'm going to go through these. So this is one of them. So this is from NASA's own website. This is what their space colonies would have looked like. So it's all built out there. I don't know where this would be. Um, Looks like there's like a sun up here, and then like the moon and some other, or a planet or some other moon there. So here's another one. It's all built out, lots of detail. Whoever did that did a good job. And then here's another one. So there's a common theme here where you get to see like this inside of this kind of cylindrical type of craft or station, and it repeats itself over and over. So it appears to be a consistent design where that would be the most likely thing that they would build. And this was also depicted in the movie Elysium, or however you say that, as this kind of space station in space. It's kind of like a giant centrifuge, a giant like circular kind of thing. So let's move on here. Oh, so here's another one. So yeah, there's lots of detail in here, and these are all from NASA. This isn't from like some artist. This is all I got this from NASA's website. So let's see here. Okay. Yeah, there's that big thing in the middle. I'm not really sure what that does. Maybe somebody in the chat room can say. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, Babylon 5 disclosure jackpot. So all of these things are written into the show. It is so information dense. And they have Agenda 21, the Alliance, Abraxas, which Abraxas is a Greek word for the Great Archon, the Black Italian nobility families, who we hear from Cobra and Stuart Swerdlove, I believe, that those are the beings on the physical planet, that are controlling things. So I didn't mean to go to the next page there, but yeah, everything is in there. And you know what? I want to go back to that. I want to go through some of those. So let me just go back in here. Okay. Of course, my computer wants to slow down here. Okay, so you have the blue spheres. That was significant because all this information that I wrote about in this article and that was included in this show, everything like predates Corey and David and Cobra and all these and a lot of these whistleblowers. Everything was written into this show way like long before a lot of these people became more public. So I think that's definitely something to be said about whoever was writing this show. They were getting it from somewhere where they knew what was going on. So you have the censorship, control over the media, compartmentalization, corporate mind control, or corporate control on Earth and in space. They do have stuff about mind control. The Dark Night of the Soul, that repeats a lot, and they do it on a big level where the Earth is ultimately liberated from these dark forces that the government was working with. The defeat of the Cabal, Shadows, Illuminati, the event, false flags, genetic manipulation by ETs, Illuminati, Freemason symbolism, the Mars colony, metaphysical knowledge, law of one knowledge, Nazi influence, this Illuminati Night Watch group where they see everything that's going on, the Shadows, which are these beings, these really malevolent negative beings that have been around for a long time that we'll get into in a little bit. The Solar Flash, Super Soldiers, Call for Volunteers to Help Earth, Time Travel, Transhumanism, and the Resistance Movement. It is all in there. Call for volunteers for the war of all wars. The higher being Kosh and Delenn, who was another extraterrestrial, asked him if she could join him in the operations to defeat the Shadows, who are these really malevolent negative beings that I believe they are depicting in real life today as these Andromeda beings, these really negative, malevolent beings. He agreed and told her she would be tested to see if she would be able to handle the battle with those beings. She underwent an interesting trial. The captain joined her later, and they both ended up passing, but not before possibly dying or answering a question incorrectly. So the tests that they were given were really strange by this ascended being, and this is what the being looks like. So that's Kosh, and he exists in this encounter suit where it's kind of like this, um, it's just like a really advanced looking suit. It's really interesting. I forgot to get a picture of it, but so there's the interior of the cylindrical space station again, just like the NASA photos, and that's the Captain John, and he's like falling. I don't know how. I forget how he was falling, but this being, this kind of angelic looking being, comes and rescues him, and he's got like a humanoid face, and then he goes back into his encounter suit. But yeah, he was part of this group of ancient beings who were trying to defeat these shadows, these negative beings that were trying to destroy basically the universe and take it over. So, Voice of the Resistance established to give surface population the truth, precursor to Cobra's blog. So in the show, okay, so Cobra's blog is the official channel of communication between the light forces and the surface population. This was started in 2012. Babylon 5 depicted a similar form of communication titled The Voice of the Resistance. So at some point, the media, in the show, the media was totally taken over, and um, they were spouting propaganda all day, every day, and just kind of like what's going on now. And so these people on the space station, the resistance movement, decided to start their own broadcast and broadcast the truth to people. So I'm going to show you. I think the next is a video here. Oh, uh, so here's a picture from Cobra's blog. This blog is the official communication outlet for the resistance movement. And the video I'm going to show you now is from the actual show where they are talking about this resistance movement. So I'm going to play that for you now.
This is Commander Susan Ivanova, Babylon 5, and this is the first official broadcast of the new Voice of the Resistance. We're sending the signal out to every ship that wants to hear the truth, to our fallen comrades and freedom fighters on Mars and Proxima 3, and to Earth, which, despite what you may have heard, is still our home, and still the one dream that we are as loyal to now as we ever have been. Over the last 3 years, ever since President Clark took over after arranging the assassination of President Santiago, you've been hearing nothing but misinformation, propaganda, and outright lies. Now, we're going to tell you the truth. And we're going to keep telling it until they shut us down or until President Clark steps down and returns Earth to the hands of its people. You can kill us. You can bomb our colonies, destroy our ships, murder innocent civilians. But you cannot kill the truth. And the truth is back in business.
Okay, so lots of really good stuff in there. She's talking about, Earth being controlled by this president who is working with these negative beings, and well, that was happening. That was happening in the show anyway. And there needed to be some kind of broadcast where people could actually get the truth and not be fed propaganda crap. So that was the purpose of that. So I definitely think there could be some kind of correlation between that and Krober's blog, which I thought was interesting. It could be a coincidence, but either way, it's interesting. So, the battle to liberate Earth, main plot of Babylon 5. So, at some point in like the third or the fourth season, it becomes the main plot of the entire show where Earth and the resistance movement is battling these negative beings that have been around for a really long time, like millions of years. And there's basically an alliance of beings, this kind of loose confederation, all working together to defeat these negative beings. And there's a lot of correlations between that and real life and the Illuminati. So I will go over this. So these shadows were battled by the first ones, who were one of the oldest beings in the galaxy. These turned out to be the Vorlons. I equated the Vorlons to the galactic central race. So the Vorlons, Kosh was one of those Vorlons that I showed you earlier, that ascended-looking being. So he was a Vorlon. The shadows end up influencing the president on Earth and cause him to make dictator-like decisions to concentrate power to him and EarthGov, because on Earth they had like one centralized government. It was all one government all over the planet. So very New World Order style, like they wanted it in real life, right? But they're not going to get that. So, and control humanity. They use the media to brainwash the public to get them on their side. So that sounds kind of familiar. The Shadows' ideology includes seeking out elite members of society, telling them that they are special and the rest of humanity is weak and should be culled or killed. Their agenda includes promoting Darwinism, who was a Freemason, and duality, and that pain is a natural part of life. So this is exactly the Illuminati theology. I mean, they believe that they're the best and that they deserve to survive, and that they're special, and that the rest of us should be tossed aside and, burned alive and killed through biological weapons and all kinds of stuff like that. It's really horrific. The president got involved with the Shadows and other negative ETs to help him obtain power. The Shadows were responsible for influencing the president to order the genocide of telepaths. And the telepaths, there's so much information in this show. I don't want to go into all of it because I have other stuff to go into here. But the telepaths, the government was using telepaths as part of they had like a telepathic program where they had people whose job it was to be telepaths and to attend meetings to detect like deception and stuff like that. And some of them went rogue and, they were a threat to society, and it was a whole big thing, but I don't want to go into all that. The Shadows had many beings to do their bidding. This included beings called the Drakh, who walked in a very strange fashion and appeared to be slightly out of phase. So these beings were really interesting, and I believe I have a picture of that here. So these beings, these Drakh-looking beings, they had red eyes, they had a really creepy-looking face, and they were incredibly malevolent and totally evil. And when they walked, they were a little bit out of phase. They were all like blurry, like you see in the picture here. And these beings were working directly with the Shadows, and I believe that these beings were like the Draco, like the Draco reptilians. And as far as I know, they didn't have reptilians in this show, or not that I can remember anyway. So, and the Drakh also appeared in the spin-off series Crusade that we were talking about earlier, and these beings were working on biological weapons that were going to be sprayed into the atmosphere in order to help destroy humanity. So a little bit of a correlation there. Chemtrails and all that fun stuff. So, okay. The Centauri Emperor, who I believe are the Italian black nobility families, made a deal with the Shadows, and that if he did whatever they asked, then they would give him powers and make him a god. This is the ideology of the Illuminati. So in the show, one of the main characters was like this Italian-looking guy, and he had this like obviously Italian like kind of accent, and the way that they pronounced their words and their locations and each other's names. They would refer to like each other's as like the house of this, the house of that, which is what they do in Italy. So I think that they included these negative black nobility families in this show because they are a big part of this whole thing too. They're pretty up there on the totem pole. So several times in the show, the crew talks about us entering into a new age, an age of peace and mutual cooperation. I would also like to note that the year they depicted the liberation of Earth and the event was 1996. So remember, the show started in 1993, and around this battle kind of thing that was going on in season 3 and 4 was around 95, 96, 97. So right before the Congo invasion per Cobra's intel. We heard from Cobra that before the event could have happened that year, that the event could have happened that year because of the awakening that was happening back then. The season in the show, season 4, where this battle took place was in 1996. So I got this from Wikipedia. This is when the show aired. So they probably filmed it, in 1996 earlier that year, but it didn't air until later in the year. So another interesting correlation there. So throughout the 20th century, the Confederation has been removing obstacles to the first contact one after the other until 1995 when they were ready to make their move. This triggered a red alert among the top archons on Earth at that time, and they have decided to call in all remaining dark forces of the galaxy to defend the quarantine Earth. This resulted in the so-called Congo Archon invasion of 1996. And this is also from Cobra's blog. Etheric Archon grid is present around this planet for the last 26,000 years and was greatly reinforced during the Congo Archon invasion in 1996 when it was strengthened by many reptilian entities from our galaxy and from the Andromeda galaxy as well. In late 1995, Archons became afraid that the Galactic Confederation will make real contact with the surface population of this planet, and they reinforced the grid to prevent that, and they obviously succeeded in that regard. So, okay. Earth joins the Interstellar Alliance, which I believe is just another term for the Galactic Confederation. Russian president endorses. So at this point, when after all this stuff goes down, there's like a Russian president, a president of the world, which I thought was interesting. The current president of Earth is a stern but fair Russian woman. This could be likened to President Putin, who is working to defeat the cabal on the global stage. So if you follow geopolitics like I have been, and I know politics isn't all that interesting, but if you follow it, you'll see that Putin, they are really, really after Putin. And every interview he does, they viciously attack him. They viciously attack his staff. You know, they're always accusing him of war crimes and stuff like that, which they're just projecting because that's what they're doing. So in the following video, she endorses and sanctions a new alliance with other beings. So I'm going to show you that video now. It's really cool.
Good evening. We begin our broadcast tonight with a special report providing continuing coverage on the unfolding Babylon 5 story. President Susanna Luchenko met today with representatives of the newly formed Interstellar Alliance. In a historic move, Earth has agreed to join forces with the new alliance. In the same press conference, the newly elected president of the Interstellar Alliance, John Sheridan, had this surprising revelation.
Now, in order to join the alliance, the rights of the colony worlds must be respected. If a majority of their population votes for independence, they must be freed. Later this afternoon, President Luchenko will sign an executive order declaring Mars a free and independent world.
Obviously, this will have to be ratified by the...
Okay, and it cuts off there. So I thought that was interesting. You know, they have different beings in that room, and they're all working together to create this alliance. Maybe not so tight, but kind of loosely put together, with the mission of, you know, mutual trade and, you know, exchange and ideas and culture and stuff like that. You know, something that, you know, all countries should do and all, you know, planets should do. And that's what everybody's going to do when all this stuff is over, when the event happens. So Star Trek is also a jackpot. I've written many articles containing information from Star Trek, and there are many more things I wish to write about. Archons that can... so here are a few of the things that they include here. Archons that control and influence non-physical planes and the reincarnation process. Nazis controlling space stations that use super soldiers to fulfill their agenda. Ascension. Various advanced technology and life forms. Atlantis. Science of time and space. Advanced spiritual education. And instructions on how to improve and develop psychic abilities. Okay, Gene Roddenberry working with Secret Space Program personnel. So this is from Dr. Michael Sala's blog, Exopolitics. All this helps considerably in finally understanding the nature of the business relationship between Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, and Leslie Stevens Jr. Stevens could not himself directly create a science fiction show revealing details of the classified information given to him by his deceased father, but he has very likely received tacit permission by Navy officials to share it with television movie producers such as Roddenberry, who would fictionalize the information. Tompkins that's William Tompkins, who just recently passed away. May he rest in peace. He gave a lot of really cool information to the world, and I think he just passed away during the eclipse, which was an interesting synchronicity. Tompkins' testimony confirms that it was common practice for Navy officers briefed about extraterrestrial life to pass on some of this highly classified information to their children. I definitely would. Consequently, it is almost certain that Admiral Stevens revealed to his son Leslie Stevens some of the classified details about the existence of extraterrestrial life and secret space programs prior to his death. It is furthermore very possible that Stevens Jr. was part of a Navy-sanctioned soft disclosure process that would use the television movie industry to reveal elements of the Navy's planned secret space program. Consequently, the business relationship between Gene Roddenberry and Leslie Stevens suggests that Star Trek was initially based on information gained by Admirals Boda and Stevens. A future U.S. Navy space fleet would be developed that would actively cooperate with Nordic extraterrestrials in an alliance that would encounter the Nazis and their reptilian allies. In the Star Trek series, the Nordics were depicted as Vulcans, the reptilians as Klingons, while the Nazis were represented as genetically enhanced humans. So I thought that was interesting. Okay, so I think I've got... Let's see. Okay, so I have a video here of them talking about Ascension, and some of you may have already seen this, like in my last live stream, but I got a better version of it this time. I went through like all of these different shows, and I got a better version of everything, so I'm going to play that for you right now. So if you have already seen it, just be patient in case there's somebody here who hasn't seen it yet. So I'm going to play that for you now.
Ready all weapons.
You
will no longer harm these people, Sunad.
Fire upon that ship.
Do not be afraid. I won't hurt you.
Kill him, Captain. He's evil.
You could learn from these people, Sunad. They do not fear me.
They don't know how dangerous you are. You and the others like you.
That is what you and the other leaders have maintained for generations, but it is not true. Captain, my species is on the verge of a wondrous evolutionary change, a transmutation beyond our physical being. I am the first of my kind to approach this metamorphosis. They tried to convince us it was a sickness we would never survive, that the pain and energy pulses would kill us. They claimed we were dangerous, so they destroyed anyone who exhibited the signs of the transfiguration.
We were protecting our society.
By murdering us, you saw the mutations as a threat to your authority. You were terrified of something you couldn't understand. Some suspected that what was happening to them was not evil. 4 of us decided to flee Zelka and let the metamorphosis take its course. You hunted us down, killed the others, but I survived. With the help of a kind and generous people. There is nothing to fear. You can join me. All Zalconians can. Let me show you.
Don't touch me.
As you wish. But others will listen now that you can no longer prevent me from telling them the truth. Those who are willing will follow me.
Sunad is back aboard the Zalconian vessel, Captain.
Okay, so that was one of the videos, and I have another video next of Star Trek Voyager, where one of the characters also goes through an ascension process. So I'm going to show you that video now.
So tell me more about what's happening to you. What does it all mean?
I don't know, and that's what makes it so exciting. It's as if I can see into a place where the distinction between matter and energy and thought no longer exists. And that's only the beginning. I feel as if all the boundaries within me are about to fall away. I only have to look at an object, gaze at it, and I can begin to see that the space between the atoms is being filled with something else. I've been thinking about everything that's been going on. And I know what I have to do. It's time for me to leave Voyager. Oh, Cass, something important is happening to me, and I want to explore it. But I can't stay here any longer. I'm a danger to all of you.
We're going to get to the bottom of this. The doctor's already working on a new approach.
Everybody thinks that what's happening is a medical condition. That's not it at all. I'm going through a transformation. I don't know how or why, but every cell in my body is telling me that I'm changing into something more. I believe something crucial is happening to me, and I want to see it through. Now all I have to do is tell the doctor. He's not going to be happy. It's starting.
Janeway to bridge.
Chakotay here.
Prepare a shuttle for launch and have Tuvok meet me on deck 6.
Captain?
Kess is leaving us.
Come on. Captain, I can't stop.
Janeway to Chakotay. Beam us directly to the shuttle bay.
The molecules in Kess's body are destabilizing. It's interfering with the transporter.
Captain, we can't get a lock.
Acknowledged. Looks like we're gonna have to do this the hard way.
What's happening?
The hull is destabilizing. The molecular bonds are breaking down.
Tuvok. I can't keep going.
I will attempt a mind meld to help you delay the transformation. Our minds are one. Our thoughts are one. Try to regain control for a moment. Only for a moment. Only for a moment. You must hurry.
Hull breach on decks 3, 4, and 5.
Emergency containment fields.
Janeway to the bridge. Hess is aboard the shuttle. Initiate launch sequence.
Acknowledged.
Shuttle distance 100,000 kilometers. Speed 1/4 impulse.
Can you hail her?
I've been trying.
It's happening. It's happening to me.
Her atomic structure is completely destabilizing.
I give to you.
Okay, so she turns into a being of light, which is what happened in the other episode, and that's what happens in. I mean, that's what happens with all of these other, stories of ascended beings, that they're beings of light. So, I don't know if Kess's process was different because she was a different species. She was an Ocampa, so I don't know if the ascension process is different. I think the other one that we just watched before that was more realistic because that guy went through like pains and he was having a lot of issues and stuff like that. So I think that's more realistic, and I think that that is probably going to be the realistic process that's going on. Although it's yet to be seen, so I haven't seen anybody ascend yet, but I'm sure we will soon enough. So, and who knows, it might be one of you listening. So I have another video, and this is where the Star Trek. This is where they wrote in the concept of everything is one, and this is something that I found so amazing, and sometimes I'll just watch this episode just for this part, and it's really amazing. So just a little context, one of the crew members tries to achieve what's called warp 10, which is like a maximum level of speed where because they were only at like warp 9 or something like that. So he was doing all these calculations and he achieved warp 10, and when he did, he kind of became the entire universe. So I'm just going to play that video for you now.
Are you all right, Tom?
I'm back.
We tracked you until you crossed the threshold. Then you disappeared from our sensors. Do you remember what happened?
Oh, yeah. I was staring at the velocity indicator. It said warp 10. And then, as I watched it, I suddenly realized that I was watching myself as well. I could see the outside of the shuttle. I could see Voyager. I could see inside Voyager. I could see inside this room. For a moment, I was everywhere. I mean, everywhere, Captain. With the Kazon, back home, with the Klingons, other galaxies, it was all there. I don't know how else to explain it. It was like... Well, no, it wasn't like anything.
How did you get back to Voyager?
I saw that you were looking for me. So I took the new engines offline and ended up back where I started.
Janeway to Kim, we're ready.
Acknowledged. I'm downloading the logs into the engineering computer core.
This data describes, literally, every cubic centimeter in this sector. It's over 5 billion gigaquads of information.
It would appear that the theory of infinite velocity is correct. It may be possible to occupy every point in the universe simultaneously.
Okay, so there it was again, and I thought that was really interesting. And I have another video of a clip from the 1960s Star Trek where they pick up these kind of space hippies, and they're definitely dressed as hippies, and they do this thing with their hands, kind of like the Illuminati, but they do a circle with both of their fingers, their fingertips together, and they say, "We are one." So I'm going to show you that now.
With your permission.
By all means.
One.
We are one.
One is the beginning.
Are you one, Herbert?
Okay, so that was that. So, I would like to reiterate that this concept of oneness isn't just like it's not like an abstract kind of like, thing that you read online and, it's just kind of like this weird thing, but it's like a real it's a real scientific fact where when you get down to like the smallest point in space, anywhere in space-time, all you see is this geometric form, which is like that Merkaba, that kind of the Star of David looking thing, and three-dimensionally it's a Merkaba. So if you go anywhere in space and time and you zoom all the way down to the quantum level, that's what you're going to see. And that's what the entire universe is made of. And it's just this one geometric form that's just pure energy. And so when everybody says we're all one, literally everything in the universe is just this Merkaba in so many expressions. So I thought that was really cool that they incorporated that. So let's move on here. Archons controlling manipulating reincarnation process. This is from Cobra's blog. The Archons have been sustaining their control with a special technology that is called the Veil. It is an electromagnetic frequency fence on the lower astral and especially on the etheric plane extending maximally 8.6 miles upward and downwards from the surface ground level of our planet. That to a great extent prevents the light from coming in to the quarantine Earth. The Veil is being operated by the non-physical Archons. Apart from keeping the good ETs at bay, the Veil has a function of reprogramming the human population and keeping it in the reincarnation recycling process. There is still a very small group of main etheric Archons which continues to exert control on the reincarnation process and still continues to trigger weak spots of incarnated humans through the remote control operated etheric scalar implant technology. So I think a lot of this has been taken care of at this point because of our meditation, which was amazing. And I have a video of, and some of you may have seen this, but there's a video of, it was Star Trek Voyager where Captain Janeway is, they crash land on this planet and she kind of like fades in and out of consciousness. And there's this being there that's trying to get her to come with him. And he's manipulating her and he appears as her father and tries to get her to come with him to this kind of matrix. And it's just like how this is described, where these beings try to lure you in and they manipulate you and all that stuff. So I'm going to play that for you now.
Dying. And this is the hallucination. This isn't real.
More denial. You're only making it harder on yourself.
You're trying very hard to convince me to come with you. Why is that? If what you're saying is true, why not let me come to the decision on my own?
I'm trying to spare you unnecessary pain.
My father would never act like this. He always believed I had to learn my own lessons, make my own mistakes. He never tried to shield me from life. Why would he try to shield me from death? You're not my father. I could be imagining you, but I don't think so. You have such a specific agenda. You're determined that I go with you somewhere. Who are you?
I'm trying to help you. Stop fighting me.
Are you an alien being of some kind? Is that it?
Her eyes are open. Vital signs are responding. Blood pressure 60/30.
But the entity is still inhabiting her cerebral cortex, impeding your treatment.
Catherine, hang on. We're bringing you back. Just fight a little longer. Direct synaptic stimulation might drive out the alien presence.
I was right. I heard Tuvok and Chakotay and the doctor. You're an alien. You created all these hallucinations, haven't you?
This is what my species does. At the moment just before death, one of us comes to help you understand what's happening, to make the crossing over an occasion of joy.
And what is that?
Our matrix, where your consciousness will live. I was being truthful when I said it was a place of wonder. It can be whatever you want it to be.
Then why didn't you tell me this from the beginning? Why pretend to be my father?
Usually people are comforted to see their loved ones. It makes the crossing over a much less fearful occasion. I've done this many times, but I've never encountered someone so resistant.
Something's happening. The alien presence is getting stronger again.
Fight it, Catherine. Fight it just a little longer.
I'll have to try a Thoron pulse.
My people are telling me to fight. They're trying to save me.
They're trying out of desperation. It's hopeless.
You're the one who sounds desperate. I don't get the feeling you're trying to make me comfortable. You're only interested in my agreeing to come with you.
Because it's inevitable.
And you don't strike me as any kind of good Samaritan. You're more like a vulture, preying on people at the moment of their death when they're most vulnerable.
I've waited for you. I've been patient.
But your patience is wearing thin. What's the real reason you want me in that matrix? Somehow I don't think it has anything to do with everlasting joy.
You must go with me.
If you could force me to go, you'd have done it already. You need me to agree, don't you? I have to go voluntarily.
Wouldn't that be better than standing here in this endless debate?
Let me tell you this. We can stand here for all eternity, and I will never choose to go with you.
You're in a dangerous profession, Captain. You face death every day. There'll be another time, and I'll be waiting. Eventually, you'll come into my matrix. And you will nourish me for a long, long time.
Go back to hell, coward.
Catherine, I'm no longer detecting the alien presence. Vital signs are responding. Blood pressure 110/65.
Okay, yeah, not a very flattering picture of her face there, but the rest of it wasn't really relevant. So, I mean, they're really disclosing a lot there. You know, the Matrix, you'll be part of this Matrix. Your consciousness will be part of this Matrix. And you'll nourish me for a very long time. I mean, these are really, really disturbing things that we hear from other, esoteric texts, where these beings use you as, a part, like a battery, as part of their reincarnation process to keep their their fear farm going and all that. So that's really what's happening here, but not, not that much longer, of course. So, okay, on to the next thing. Strangelet Toplet Bomb disclosed. So this was a connection that I kind of made, but I don't know if it's a real, I don't know if it's a real connection or not. I'm just throwing this out there and to see maybe it's something, maybe it's possible, maybe it's not. But there was an episode where they dedicated some time to going over what this omega molecule thing was and all that stuff. So let's read this. So an omega molecule is a highly unstable molecule believed to be the most powerful substance known to exist. However, proper containment methods did not exist to prevent the violent destabilization of the molecule, which destroyed subspace and rendered warp travel impossible. The explosion of one molecule could destroy all subspace within several light years. Okay, so this is intel from Cobra's blog about Strangelet and Toplet bombs. The Dark Forces have developed their most deadly weapon there, the Strangelet bomb. Strangelet bomb is a conglomerate of heavy quarks called strange quarks. When this conglomerate is put under extreme pressure and temperature, it begins a chain reaction of changing ordinary matter into strange matter. If such a chain reaction would not be stopped, just one Strangelet bomb could annihilate the whole known universe. So maybe there's a correlation there, maybe not, but I thought it was interesting that maybe possibly there's something there. But anyways, let's move on here. Okay, disclosure in Futurama. Futurama is this kind of cartoon show that's set in the future, like 1,000 years in the future, in the year 3000. And they put a lot of really interesting stuff in that show. Futurama disclosed the primary anomaly, which is called the cosmic anomaly in the show. The episode is actually a movie. It's called A Beast with a Billion Backs. I did a little research on this, and it said it has been confirmed by David X. Cohen, Futurama's creator, on the audio commentary that the title refers to a euphemism for sexual intercourse, the beast with two backs, that originated in English with Shakespeare's Othello. I didn't really do any research more into that. If I did, I'm sure I'd find some interesting things, but I didn't feel guided to go beyond that. So this is from Cobra's blog. Primary anomaly is a random wave function, a distortion of Calabi-Yau manifolds, a field of micro black holes a convoluted field of quantum fluctuations, a semi-conscious field of anti-life which always tries to suppress the light by default. This was brought into existence out of pure potentiality at the creation of the universe and is the antithesis of the one. It is the primary error in creation and the primary cause of all suffering. All the remaining primary anomaly of the universe is now being gathered around the surface profile of this planet, waiting to be finally transformed to allow the final liberation of our planet, which will then become the last point of light to join the Galactic Union. So a lot of this has already happened. You know, we've already almost gotten rid of all of it. And actually, it's been a week since we got Cobra's intel a week ago, where he talked about the black stone being removed, which is the center of this primary anomaly. And so I wonder if there's going to be any effect from that. I wonder if we're going to get any intel on that. But anyways, so yeah, they don't actually say the primary anomaly in Futurama, but they do say cosmic anomaly. And I didn't want to go through the whole movie. It was like an hour and 40 minutes, and I didn't feel like watching all of it. But they do call it the anomaly. So I believe I have a set of videos here that are going to explain the cosmic anomaly and all that stuff in the context of the show.
The anomaly!
It's so anomalous.
I'm feeling dread deep in my dreads.
Wernstrom! Yes, and I'm afraid I have disturbing news about the anomaly. You see...
How did you... Why are we risking our lives? Can't we just send in a robotic drone? What's everybody looking at me for? Bender to crew, I have reached the gateway to another universe. I feel awed and strangely humbled by the momentous solemnity of this occasion. Hey, other universe! Bite my shiny metal leg!
Okay, the volume was a little bit loud on that one. Sorry about that. And the next video is going to be a continuation of the cosmic anomaly.
Who is it? Oh, hi, Honey Poo. What's up? The movie's not for another hour.
Okay, so it's interesting to note here that this being is this giant, like, octopus-looking thing, and it's like a ball, and it's kind of like consuming this one, like, orb, and it has one eye, which can indicate, like, an Illuminati presence. They're trying to communicate that there's some Illuminati connection there. And I have another video here about the Illuminati being disclosed by one of the main characters falling down into this chamber and discovering them. So I'm going to play that for you now.
Kneel before the candle. Don't hurt me! I'll betray anyone!
Bender Bending Rodriguez.
Welcome to the League of Robots. Tell us, Bender, are you worthy of membership in the League?
Worthier than the average robot!
Then prove it. Upon each step is a test.
The test of the infinitely priceless 1,000-year-old brandy.
Okay, so it's interesting to note that all of these people have red robes on. That's the first thing. That's the first red flag, pun intended. And that there are celebrities and rich people involved in this group. So that orange-looking being, he was a celebrity. He's a TV star. And then also notice that they had the steps kind of looked like a big pyramid. And you had all the fire going up on next to the pyramid. That's what the Illuminati, they love fire. And then you had that kind of rich guy with his monocle pouring that really expensive, brandy or whatever it was. And basically, this group consists of the highest levels of their society, and you know, they do talks about, you know, this and that, and yeah, so that was very interesting. So the next video is going to be pretty disturbing, and it's going to talk about how these rich people in this little secret society that you just saw are planning to kill all of humanity, and they also disclose like them working out a deal with the devil and sacrificing a child in order to get these powers, an army, so they can help destroy humanity. So that sounds pretty familiar, right? Disturbingly, but yeah, somebody definitely knew what they were doing when they wrote this. So I'm going to play that video for you now. Yeah, just an FYI, it's disturbing. So.
My fellow Leaguey Wiggies, the time has come to overthrow humanity!
To overthrow humanity, we need a damned army.
Then a damned army we shall have!
I rather think we could strike a deal, Bender. I shall give you your army of the damned. And in return, I ask just one thing. Just one itty-bitty thing. Your firstborn son.
Just a sec.
Daddy! I knew you'd come back!
Here you go.
Wow! That was pretty brutal even by my standards.
No backseat.
Okay, so that was pretty creepy. You know, he doesn't even think twice about taking this kid and throwing him into this pit of fire, which, you know, we know that they do rituals with fire and they burn people alive and, you know, stuff like that. Really, really gross, you know, sickening things. But, you know, this is part of full disclosure. We need to know these things so they can be healed ultimately. And if we just continue to ignore them, then they're not going to be transmuted and they're not going to be healed. So as disturbing as some of this stuff is, we do need to remember that full disclosure is going to include stuff like this and way worse stuff than this. So the next video I have is of this cosmic anomaly consuming pretty much all of society. So I'm going to show you that now. It's really creepy.
Thou shalt love the tentacle! Well, at least we don't have to love one another. A new age has begun! The age of the tentacle! Open your necks and receive the love!
Oh, my neck!
Ow, my neck!
My neck feels perfectly. Ow, my neck! Someone help me! Hey, I'm important! Say, I love the tentacle.
I also love the neck-a-majigger.
Okay, so as you can see, that's pretty creepy. And I have to say, if they didn't add any of this like funny stuff, all these extra funny words, it would be way more disturbing. So yeah, I noticed in the beginning he says, love the tentacle, you know, which is one of those, if you look at one of these patches, Cobra had posted this, it's like a picture of this octopus that's kind of consuming the entire world. And it's an octopus that has tentacles everywhere. And there's other illustrations of like the Rothschilds, you know, being like an octopus and having their tentacles all over the place. So it definitely seems like there's some kind of correlation and what is that word? Like metaphor or whatever, comparative analysis or whatever it's called. So yeah, the next video is going to be of the cosmic anomaly, this kind of octopus, you know, tentacle thing invading or consuming religion. So it's going to be really interesting. So I'm going to play that now.
Well done, people. We had a great first week. We got 90% of world leaders, everyone who bought a Hanes undershirt, and this year's most promising new R&B group. Give it up for the Grammy-nominated Funkalistics!
Talking about the tentacle!
Okay, so it's also pretty creepy where you have like, you know, it's controlling everybody through religion, which is interesting. And you also have Fry dressed as like the Pope. And I also noticed like the kind of black sun looking emblem on the crab guy next to him, Dr. Zoidberg. And that's one of the Illuminati signs, is this black sun. That's what they worship. And it looks just like that. It looks like an oval shape, and then it has like the kind of sun rays coming off of it. And I also noticed that this also appeared in Babylon 5 on the Italian character's uniform. They had this kind of black sun looking thing, so that was another correlation I noticed. And they've also infiltrated the music industry in this video. As you can see, this group is singing about them, and they're doing their bidding, this tentacle, or this octopus being. So I thought that was also an interesting correlation, a disturbing one. And so just for comparative illustration, I have a picture of the Pope's throne room here. So if you haven't seen that, it's really, really creepy. It's like this demonic, evil-looking being, and all these people are sitting there. And it's just this massive, like, structure, this massive, like, statue thing. And it's really, really creepy looking. And there's the Pope there. I forgot which one that was. Pope Ratzinger, I think it was. So yeah, just another creepy little thing. So the next thing I have is a South Park video. So I watch a lot of South Park, and South Park discloses a lot of stuff too, and they disclosed pedogate stuff. It's really, really creepy. One of their friends gets pulled into this club called the Super Adventure Club, and after he spends time with this club, he wants to molest children all of a sudden. So his friends take him back to this club where they talk to like the main leader of the club, where he talks about how raping children gives them like energy. And I'm going to play that for you now. It's really disturbing. So just an FYI.
Look, if you want to go around the world molesting kids, that's totally fine. But why do you need Chef?
We don't need him. He needs us. Our club offers hope. You think we go around the world molesting children just because it feels really, 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 really good? No! Our club has a message and a secret that explains the mysteries of life.
Oh, Jesus, here we go.
Very well. I'm now going to tell you the secret of the Super Adventure Club.
We don't want to hear it.
You see, the Super Adventure Club was founded by the greatest explorer of all time, William P. Phineas. Phineas climbed the highest peaks, tamed the mightiest rivers. But every time he got somewhere, he realized that other explorers had beat him to it. Phineas was depressed until he realized that if he couldn't be the first to discover places, he could be the first to have sex with the native children that inhabited those areas. Phineas quickly went down in history books as the first man to have sex with the Aborigine children at Uluru, and the first explorer to bugger all the underage mountain folk of Nepal. But now the most wonderful part. You see, after having sex with all those children, Phineas realized that molesting all those kids had made him immortal.
Immortal.
He discovered that children have things called Marlocks in their bodies. And when an adult has sex with a child, the Marlocks implode, feeding the adult's receptor cavity with energy that causes immortality, so saith the ruler of Bethos. Phineas traveled the world, loving many, many children, and he lived for eternity. Until he was hit by a train in 1892.
Okay, so they have to make it funny while they disclose these things, these really disturbing things. And ultimately, the character that they were talking about, Chef, the person that did his voice, Isaac Hayes, I believe it was, he joined Scientology, and this was supposed to be kind of like a hit piece on Scientology, but I believe that they were doing it. They were trying to communicate that, there were these people that were raping children and getting energy from them. And notice that they had that being Bethos. I'm not sure what that would be like a comparison for, but I'm guessing that would be like some type of Luciferian thing, possibly. So I thought that was really interesting and creepy. So I would like to move on now. So Stargate SG-1 and Atlantis disclosed a rich amount of information about Ascension. The show that disclosed the most amount of information about Ascension was Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis. Both shows were beyond abundant in occult knowledge and wisdom. The Atlantis team discovered Ascension chambers, which were used by one of the team members. So in this video that I'm going to show you here, this is going to be by the Stargate SG-1 team. And there's so much information in Stargate SG-1. It would take me days and weeks and months to be able to go through all of it. So I'm only going to summarize some of the most important things. And the main plot of the show ended up being about these ascended beings trying to defeat these other beings who were like these Illuminati people who were trying to ascend themselves and do it in a really evil way by destroying people and killing them and stuff like that, if I remember correctly. and they eventually came upon ascended beings, and that became an important part of the show. They couldn't ignore it. So, you know, the whole point of the Stargate show was to explore the universe through the Stargate that they found in Atlantis or Antarctica and Egypt. And they ended up coming across all of these problems, and the main part of the show ended up becoming about ascended beings and ascension in general. So I'm going to play the first video for you now.
I read some of your books and watched the television so I could learn how to speak and what to wear. Is this okay?
You've been in my house all night?
Yes, but you couldn't see me. I just took this form now so we could relate. Actually, I used to look this way before my ascension.
Okay. What do I do?
Stand there. Open your mind to the possibility of an existence not governed by the rules of science, which you hold so dear.
How do I do that?
Just close your eyes and
Don't say take it easy.
relax.
Oh my God.
Okay, so that was one of the many interactions that they had with ascended beings at the time. And just a quick note, one of the crew members of this team, the SG-1 team, Daniel, ended up ascending himself. And, you know, he appeared to a few of the team members at the time, and there were certain rules that he had to, abide, and he ended up disobeying them, and they sent him back. These other ascended beings sent him back to the physical realm, where he would have to, or he wouldn't be allowed to ascend again for a while. So, yeah, just there's so much information in that show, and I highly recommend watching it. So the second video I have here is of the Stargate Atlantis team finding this room where there is an ascension chamber inside. And for a little context, the Stargate Atlantis team found this Stargate, and they dialed this number out, and they ended up in this Pegasus galaxy, and they found this kind of like island, this kind of city island thing, and apparently it belonged to these ancient Atlantean beings, and it was abandoned. And so they basically are exploring this city, and it's really big, it's huge, and it's sitting on the ocean, and they're turning things on, and they're trying to figure out what's going on with it. And so yeah, they find this room where there's an ascension chamber, and one of the crew members activates it. So I'm going to show you that video now.
Are you sure you should be going up there? How else am I going to find out what this room does, huh? God forbid there should be anything in the ancient database.
Oh, there probably is. We just don't have the time to.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, there should be a main power switch.
Yes, I know that. What do you think I'm doing?
All right. All right, double or nothing.
Oh, you're on. All right. All right, it's going to be around here somewhere.
Rodney, what happened?
I'm not sure. I think I just lost. Big time.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, I could use your help. I managed to get power to part of the console to access the lab's research logs.
Well, that's good news.
Well, I'm not so sure. I could use a second opinion.
It seems much of this refers to different elements of human physiology. It mentions the mutation of base genetic coding.
I realized Dr. Beckett said that there are no evident effects from Rodney's exposure to the device, but it seems...
It's meant to manipulate human DNA. Have there been any other instances of this power manifest in a cell?
Powers, plural?
What else can you do besides telekinesis?
Well, super hearing for one, and I'm not sure, but I think I may actually be getting smarter. It's hard to say for sure because I was pretty smart to start with, but recently I've been having some ideas that I don't think even I would have thought of before.
Does superego count as a power?
Oh, finally. Look, keep it coming.
Could also be dealing with a super appetite, although it's hard to tell because he ate so much before.
It's very funny.
My God, he's eating again.
I have a very active metabolism.
Aye, among other things. The scan showed a dramatic increase in synaptic interaction throughout all the sections of Rodney's brain. Much higher than normal human levels.
There was an incident at SGC just over a year ago.
I recall that file. Studied the data. Fascinating.
SG-1 discovered a highly evolved human being in stasis. Turned out he was the result of experimentation by a Goa'uld named Anubis. He was trying to create a means of artificially accelerating the human physiology to the point of ascension.
Well, that device I found must have been some kind of an accelerator. We know that the ancients developed all kinds of powers as they evolved. So it's just a matter of bad luck that we didn't run into that lab earlier. Seriously. Me a superhero. Who would have thought it?
Look, we all agree the ancients are pretty screwed up.
We do?
All the ones I met were arrogant and condescending, and not for good reason. They made giant mistakes and never fixed them.
They were still human.
Then there were all those crazy rules.
Those only came after they ascended.
Whatever. Right? Maybe this thing doesn't work on everyone. Who knows? But we do know it works on McKay.
It has only been a day.
Assuming it's safe. I'll be honest, even if it's not. If we can get a significant advantage over the Wraith and the Replicator...
John, I agree. This device may have great potential.
And with great potential comes great responsibility, I know.
Like a lot of other things we have found in this city, it is a very advanced piece of technology. For all we know, it could also be very dangerous.
Just saying.
Yes, you can be next.
Thank you. Well, you were saying...
Well, we know the ancients evolved physiologically to a certain point where they could transform into a state of pure energy.
Ancient History 101.
Yes, we also know that not all of them managed to get there.
Saying some of them needed a kick in the pants.
So to speak. I think this machine was not meant to help them fight the war against the Wraith, but rather to help them escape it.
An ascension machine?
Like the one the Goa'uld tried to create in the Milky Way.
Are you saying McKay's going to ascend?
No, unfortunately, there's a whole lot more to ascension than just being physically evolved.
Believe me, after spending 6 months with a bunch of pansy wannabes, I know. What does this mean for McKay?
Like I said, just getting to the good bit.
I'll leave you to it.
Okay, so lots of information included in there. So, you know, they do mention that it's important that, you know, it's not just the physical part that is important about ascending. It's also mental. You know, your mind has to, your thoughts have to change also before you can ascend. So they do go over that in the show pretty extensively. And okay, so we're gonna move on to the next thing here. So 2 movies about Nazis, spaceships, evil experiments, and more. This is from Dr. Michael Sala's blog. In the run-up to World War II, German secret societies and the Nazi SS were guided to 3 large caverns in Antarctica by reptilian extraterrestrials, according to the former U.S. Navy intelligence operative William Tompkins. In his latest Exo News TV interview released today, Tompkins describes how the reptilians helped the Germans and Nazis build underground bases in remote Antarctic caverns, which were located next to even larger caverns controlled by the reptilians. According to Tompkins, the U.S. Navy learned of the existence of these secret Antarctic bases from their spies embedded in Nazi Germany, who found that the Nazis and Germans used these remote bases to launch space missions to the moon, other planets in our solar system, and most remarkably, to distant interstellar locations. So, wait a minute. Okay, so I have a couple of trailers to watch here. There are a couple of movies that came out. One of them is called Iron Sky, which is this totally wild and weird Nazi movie, and I think Corey Good had mentioned it once. It's really crazy. And then there's another one called Nazis at the Center of the Earth. That's the first one that I'm going to show you. It's really creepy and disturbing, so just an FYI about that. I didn't finish all of it because it was really creepy. There's a lot of torture scenes, and it was just so brutal, and I couldn't finish watching it. So they don't really get too bad, but some of the scenes are pretty graphic, so I'm just going to warn you about that. So I'm going to play the first one now, and that's Nazis at the Center of the Earth.
You have no idea how deep that shaft is. There's no other way.
Dr. Joseph Mengele, the Angel of Death, Butcher of Auschwitz.
We can help them, or we can die.
The world has no idea the Juggernauts are about to be unleashed on it.
We prepare to take back our rightful place as the masters of this world.
Okay, yeah, so some really gruesome stuff in there. And it was interesting to note that, and I watched the beginning of this movie, the people go down into this cavern, and inside there's this huge, like Agartha-looking, like, city. It's so beautiful inside, and it's huge, it's so massive, and it's, like, well-lit, and it's just so incredible. And I also noticed that they referenced what looked like Operation High Jump, where, you know, those people tried to, or Admiral Byrd tried to take a bunch of people with him to try to go finish off the Nazis after the end of World War II, and they were met with all of these advanced craft and weapons and stuff like that, and the saucer-looking stuff. So I thought that was interesting. So that's all in that movie. And the next video here is of Iron Sky, so prepare to be weirded out. This one is just weird. So yeah, I'm going to show you that now.
Das ist ein kleiner Schritt für den Menschen, aber ein großer Schritt für das Vaterland.
Time goes by, memories are mine, still waiting for the moment I see you again. Times are changing, memories are fading. I'm waiting for another chance to tell you belong to me.
Okay, so how crazy is that? They show you like that base. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's an actual picture of like a swastika base on the moon. And they depict that in this trailer, which I thought was really interesting. And I have no idea what the inside looks like, but I imagine that somebody had some kind of information, and maybe they gave it to somebody to write about and illustrate in an animation like that. So, you know, we know that the CIA and all of them are working with the government to create these movies. So a lot of this information is really specific. So I thought that was interesting. I wanted to share that with all of you. So since we're on the topic of Nazis and all that fun stuff, we're going to move on to the next thing here. Reptilian gray tall whites disclosed in comedy show People of Earth. A new-ish show called People of Earth follows a group of experiencers who discuss their encounters with the ETs. A reptilian man runs a media company that one of the main characters works for. Their mission is to abduct and get information about the people they take and ultimately destroy the human race. One of the show's producers is Henry Kissinger's son, David Kissinger. Oh, not what I wanted to do. Okay, so the article will come after the video. Okay, so I'll show you the video first, and then we'll go from there. I thought there was an article before that, so let's do that.
I'm flying! Ah! Ah!
Hey, bud. Don't get weird, okay?
Where are you now, Ozzy?
I'm not sure. Everything's blurry.
Are you sure he's out? He's totally out. Calm down.
I hear voices.
I'm just saying he doesn't look like he's out. His head just moved.
Dude, it's the ship. The ship is rocking right now.
Okay. All I'm saying is we've been here before.
I know my freaking job, Jeff.
Well, guys, can we not fight? We're almost there, okay? Let's just be cool and get this done.
Great. We're getting cool lessons from Don.
Hey, Don. I've got an idea.
Okay, forget it. Forget I said anything.
Why don't you get off our asses and go make us a couple sandwiches?
Okay, he's looking right at me.
Shit. Hang on. Shit.
I know my freaking job, Jeff.
Oh, eat a dick. It's not like he's gonna remember any of this. We're just gonna wipe his mind, tell him he's special, and send him on his way like all the others. We'll rule them all soon, anyway.
Okay, so in this show, they do talk about this kind of reptilian agenda where they are trying to take over the human race by infiltration through all the media and all the corporations and stuff like that. And definitely like we've been hearing from the other insiders and whistleblowers like Corey and David and other people like that. So and it's interesting that they use the gray being the gray extraterrestrial being and the tall white being the Nordic being. And interestingly, that character, he's actually from one of the Nordic countries. I forgot which country, Sweden, I think. But he's got a Nordic accent, and he's depicted just like these tall whites are. And you have the reptilians also. So I thought that was really interesting that they depicted those three types of beings, because those are the ones that we hear the most of when you research UFOs and other things of this nature. You come across these beings a lot. So interestingly, they put them all together into one show. Okay, so this is an article I pulled from Den of Geek. Henry Kissinger's son, David Kissinger, is executive producer of the show. So here I have a little excerpt here. They were really excited about the idea, so when I went to spec it, I thought I'll send it to them first. David Kissinger, who's Henry Kissinger's son, is the president of Conan's production company. I think it's called Conoco. He works with Greg at NBC on The Office. He sent out the script and said, I think you might like this, and he liked it. So you have, Henry Kissinger, who we're going to get to in a minute, has connection to these reptilian beings, per Corey Good and others. And his son, who's the president of this production company, who's doing these shows about reptilians and grays and tall whites and stuff. So let's move on to the next article. Let's recall Corey Good's intel about Henry's involvement with the Draco reptilian. So this is from Dr. Michael Sala's blog. In the briefing received by Good, Gonzalez describes how he was taken to meet the leader of a Draconian Federation alliance, a 14-foot royal white Draco. After being taken to a building somewhere in the American Southwest by a classified spacecraft, Gonzalez claims he was first met by a very familiar figure. In a July 2015 briefing received by Good from a Lieutenant Colonel Gonzalez, another secret space program whistleblower who continues to remain anonymous, Good described that one of the principal architects of the Bilderberg Group, Henry Kissinger, was involved in a meeting involving a 14-foot draconian extraterrestrial. Good's description is referring to Kissinger, who has long been rumored to be a key figure in classified extraterrestrial-related projects. Kissinger attended the 2015 Bilderberg Group meeting, which occurred only 2 days after Good and Gonzalez had allegedly met approximately 200 human elites that offered a limited disclosure program to begin in November 2015. Kissinger will also be attending the 2016 Bilderberg meeting in Dresden. So How interesting is that? Where you have Henry Kissinger, who is seen with these big royal white reptilians, and even if you don't believe that, his son is the producer of this show depicting reptilians and grays and tall whites, and this reptilian agenda to destroy the Earth and destroy the planet. So there has to be some kind of correlation there, which I thought was really interesting. Okay, so we're almost done. So here are some honorable mentions, and I was going to include some of this stuff here, but it would have taken way too long. So a lot of these things I've already written about on my blog, and you can find them on my blog under the Disclosure in TV and TV show tab. So you have Scandal is one of the first ones. This one has political disclosure like you wouldn't even believe. They tell you how all of these scandals are done in Washington. They tell you how they spin stories. They tell you, I mean, it's like they follow, it's like a camera following around all of these politicians and all of these fixers and behind the scenes in Washington. It's like, it's all right there. And yeah, it's a really, really good show, and it's written really well. And you don't have to be like super like into politics to understand what's going on. They explain things. And House of Cards is really similar. It's more realistic, a more realistic political kind of show where they show you how presidents, you know, get elections rigged and they manipulate people and they murder prostitutes and they, you know, cover things up. And, you know, it's exactly like real life. It's as close to real life as you can get. Scandal and House of Cards. And then West Wing was from 2005. I watched a little bit of that. It's a political show. Doctor Who has so much stuff in there. I watched all 10 seasons of Doctor Who. They talk about like, they talk about everything, how the media is controlled, this kind of one-eyed octopus-looking being that controls everything, who's super evil, and so much more. Time and space. He's an extraterrestrial being who flies around in his TARDIS, which I think stands for Time and Relative Dimension in Space. And he has these companions with him, and they go on adventures. And it's really like a really cool Star Trek is really what it's like. And then Wonder Woman, that one recently came out. There's a lot of really good information in Wonder Woman. A lot of like ISIS kind of occult information. Lots and lots of that. It's really amazing. Like her little like star on her crown on her forehead is like the sign of ISIS. And they incorporate, I mean, there's just way more than that. And it's really, really good. They depict like the battle between good and evil in that movie also. Dark Matter is another really good one that I've written about, and I think Corey had posted that once, where they depict this kind of futuristic setting where all these corporations are in control, and they're currently in a war. I'm watching it right now, and there's all these corporations at war with each other, and it's totally crazy. It's exactly how, you know, it would be, and it's probably exactly how it is in real life right now. They have this really cool technology. There's androids that you can't even tell that they're androids. They're so human-like. And genetic engineering, and you know, it's so good. And then The Expanse is another one that was really good that came out, and I think they're doing another season soon. The creator of that show, interestingly, was James S.A. Corey, or James S.A. Good, or something like that. And I think Corey Good's name is James Corey Good. So there's a name correlation there, which is interesting. And it's a futuristic kind of show where they have like, you know, there's a Mars colony and they're independent from like all these other corporations. And the corporations try to oppress the people and they use people as slaves, slave labor. And then the Hunger Games, where they have this kind of like resistance type of thing going on, where these they have this kind of capital where this evil guy Snow, he's at the top of this pyramid and he has his kind of group of people that he manipulates. And I'm sure you've heard of the Hunger Games, where they have these kids join in and they televise their deaths and they fight each other, and it's really horrific. And they end up defeating this capital with this evil guy Snow and all his forces. And it's just like real life. It's just like a doc. All these shows are like a documentary. It's just so crazy. Once you realize what's going on, once you like start to peel away like, you know, the layers of these lies that we've been told, all of these shows have so much truth in them. It's so amazing. And the Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, that one is just it was totally amazing. I highly recommend seeing that. That one had a lot of really good stuff in it, and I wrote an analysis of that. You can find that on my blog also. I won't go too much into it. And that's where I got the intro from for this video. And for those who came late that missed it, it was really good. And if YouTube doesn't block this movie, or doesn't block this live stream, then you can look at it after it uploads to YouTube. So I got another page here. The Matrix trilogy, which I'm sure you all are aware of, that's, we live in the Matrix, and they mentioned that on that Star Trek clip, that Archon guy, I want you to come to my Matrix. And then, there's just tons of stuff in the Matrix, and I've written a few things about the Matrix. And there's way more. There's so much stuff in that show. I'm not an expert on like symbology and everything like that, and there's people that know way more. Starcross was another really good show where they had these okay, so it was like a ship that crashed in this city, this extraterrestrial ship that crashed, and they had this program to integrate these people into society, and these people were called Atrians, which is a couple letters short of Arcturian. And the intro song of the show is The Age of Aquarius. And these kids, it's set in a high school setting, which may be, kind of a turnoff for most people, but I watched it anyways. It was only like one season, sadly. And there's these extraterrestrial kids, and they're trying to integrate into society, and they have these cool powers, and, there's people that don't want them there, and they try to kill them and stuff like that. It's really good. Not the killing part, but just the show in general is really good. Tomorrowland is another really good one where the underlying message is we have the power to change our reality, and all it takes is one person to do it, and that's each one of you, making a decision to be service to others. They just close like tachyons and, these crazy people that want to kill the planet, and they don't care. Childhood End is another pretty crazy one where Childhood End is like three long episodes, but it's like a long movie. And it's basically where these people, the planet Earth, is visited by these extraterrestrials. These extraterrestrial beings just kind of fly over into their atmosphere without being announced or anything. And they pick one person to represent all of humanity. So they pick this guy. He goes up into the ship, and he starts talking to, the ship is a lot bigger on the inside than it is on the outside, and the same concept was talked about in Doctor Who. So he has that phone booth spaceship. When you go inside, it's huge, and it has something to do with the gravity, and it has something to do some advanced technology. I have no idea. So anyways, this guy goes up into this ship, and there's this being talking to him, this older gentleman talking to him, but he can't see him, and he doesn't want him to see him for a good reason. And so basically, the extraterrestrials offer to clean up the entire Earth, to end crime, to end poverty, to end disease, and to create this kind of utopia on the planet. And 10 years go by, they end up doing that, and the beings are like, okay, we're going to let you see us now. And so the beings land this ship, and it's all televised. The beings land on this kind of pillar, and the being takes this elevator down, and when he emerges, it's this kind of devil-looking guy. It's this really tall devil-looking guy. He's all red and muscular, and he's evil-looking. He's got the slanted eyes, the horns, the wings, the hooves. It's all there. And he's got two children on both of his arms that he's holding their hands. And he said, now it's time for us to take something. So he takes all the children off the planet, and he takes them into their spaceship. And so all these kids start floating up to their spaceships, and they take all the kids. And it was totally horrific and tragic for all the people, because then the Earth went to crap, because who wants to live in that world where all the children are gone, because you're going to go extinct anyway now. They would just be totally miserable. I mean, you can make more kids, I guess. I don't know if they would take them. But anyways, so the point being, there was this devil-looking being, and he wanted the children. So that was kind of what we saw in the what was it called? The Futurama episode, where the devil wants the firstborn son, and he throws him into the fire. So that's what we hear also, is that they sacrifice these children to the devil in order to give them power. So basically, these people sacrificed their kids for a utopia, and they gave them over to these devil-looking beings. So it was really horrific, and it didn't have a happy ending. And then Jupiter Ascending, I'm sure you guys have all seen that. That one's really good, where they have these kind of Draco-looking beings working with these reptilian beings, and they have these kind of like weird gray flamingo looking, where their legs can stretch forward and bend forward, and they could be grays, I don't know. Anyways, and they basically use Earth as a farm, but the whole crux of the thing was that the main character had to sign over her power to this being. He couldn't just take it. She had to give her power over to him willingly, and that's something that we hear over and over, is that when we give our power over to anybody, these beings, these, the government or whatever, anybody in your life, then you're giving away your power and you're giving them control over you. So that was a huge part of that movie, was that we need to take back our own power, realize how powerful we are, which is like you're the power of the universe in human form. And that was basically the underlying message of that movie. And Captain America, that was a good one. David Wilcock talks about that one. I don't remember all the details of that one. Iron Sky, which I'm sure I showed you the video of. That was pretty cool. The X-Files reboot, I'm sure a lot of you saw that. Where they had that kind of like opening scene where that extraterrestrial ship crashed, and they had that gray being, and they shot it, and they dissected it, and they had like a reptilian being in the 3rd episode, and they talked about like this bioweapon being released, and this kind of Rothschild-looking guy that was trying to kill all of humanity and tell people that they're special, just like in Babylon 5. They have these beings that they're told that they're special and that they're going to be, the chosen people, and that everyone else deserves to die. So the X-Files reboot was really good, and they talked about, free energy and Tesla and, all of these really, really amazing things. And of course, that was just a partial disclosure, though. The real disclosure would include the child abuse and, crimes against humanity and so on. And so the last one I want to mention is Zoolander 2. At the very end of this is supposed to be like a comedy show, but at the very end of the show, or the very end of the movie, they have this kind of, and there's lots of celebrities in it, which makes it creepy. At the very end, I should have got a picture of it. At the very end, they have like a bunch of these celebrities wearing red robes and standing in this room, and there's fire everywhere, and they're about to sacrifice this child, this kind of child that's sitting on this like, what is it called? Like a rock kind of table, altar, whatever you want to call it. And they're all about to sacrifice this kid, and there's fire everywhere, and it's so Luciferian, it's so in your face, it's so crazy, it totally ruined the whole movie. And but the point being, there was lots of celebrities involved, and that's what made it really creepy, because we know that a lot of these celebrities are controlled by these Illuminati people. So I think that's about everything. Let's see. There are so many more. Including everything that has been included in these shows and movies would take months to put together, and longer than that to explain. We are seeing an abundance of knowledge being dropped onto us from every direction. It is leading up to the event and ultimately ascension. Your thoughts and actions are crucial at this time. And I was going to show you the video of the Age of Aquarius, but since I'm using YouTube instead of Twitch, I'm sure I'll get flagged and the video will be blocked, so I'm not going to play that. But maybe you could watch it afterwards if you want. It should be like it should be in my movie selection. It's the Age of Aquarius, the Solar Flash, and I was going to play that at the end. So that's really everything that I had. I want to thank everybody for watching. I really appreciate you being here, and I thank you for going to YouTube at the last minute. I don't know if the website Twitch is still down, but the entire site stopped working for me, and I couldn't get to my website, and I couldn't even get on the app on my iPad. It was like broke. It just gave me an error. So I don't really know what was in this presentation that was so bad. I mean, all of these shows were already released. I mean, where were these people when these shows were being made? So I don't really understand why they're so, finicky about this information being released. It's already been released. So anyways, I just wanted to thank everybody for being here. I love you all really much. And I hope that you all have a great rest of your weekend. Yeah, thank you for participating in this live stream today. It was really awesome. I'm grateful to all of you. So I hope you all have a good night, or wherever you are, good day, night. It's almost evening here, so thank you again and take care. I love you all. Have a good night, day, whatever it is. Bye.